and to learn something new, to learn something interesting. So today I'll be talking about modern JavaScript concepts in LWC. If you are not familiar with modern JavaScript concept, then this is going to be a really good session for you. If you're already working in LWC, you might be working in JavaScript as well, because JavaScript is the core part of LWC. Whatever you will be building on HTML, you need JavaScript to execute it, right? But the JavaScript that you're using, is it really a modern JavaScript? That we will understand in this session today. I'll quickly start with my introduction. So I'm Kapil. I'm a Salesforce MVP. Yesterday got renewed as an MVP again for the fourth year. So I'm a founder of SalesforceBold.com, a YouTube channel and the blog as well. I'm from Ajmer, Rajasthan, and currently working as a consultant. So the agenda that will include today, first we'll talk about what is modern JavaScript, because I have seen people getting confused between the normal JavaScript and modern JavaScript. I have seen people having this thing like how it is different from the normal JavaScript and how you can identify whatever you're doing if it is really a part of the modern ways, right? You won't be able to identify until you are having the proper knowledge of it. Next, we'll discuss why you should use it. There are some specific benefits of using the modern ways of technology. It is not about JavaScript, guys. It is about every technology. So whatever technology you're using, there will be some specific benefit if you're using the modern ways of doing it. Next, I'll show you how it can go with your Lightning Web Components. So the overall agenda of the session is going to be to get you familiar with modern JavaScript when you're building your Lightning Web Component. Okay. So as part of modern JavaScript, there are around 10 or 12 new features introduced, and from it is not possible to cover all of them in a single session, right? So in this specific session, I'll be covering 3 specific features of modern JavaScript. I'll also share a library with you using which you'll be able to understand other features as well. But in this specific session today, we'll be just discussing 3 things. Those 3 things are template literals, one of the important functions in modern JavaScript. We'll be discussing destructing assignment syntax, another very important thing in modern JavaScript. And also as part of modern JavaScript, it also introduced the functions and the better parameter handling of it. Okay, so that is going to be the third example of this modern JavaScript. And for sure, there is going to be a live demo as well. So if you are on social media, then these are my social media handles. I'm mostly available on all of them. So if you're not connected, feel free to ping me wherever you guys are available. So we'll start with the basic introduction that when it comes to modern JavaScript, what exactly is a modern JavaScript? So modern JavaScript, basically, I would say it's a modern way of using the JavaScript concepts, what we had in before ES6 release. So modern JavaScript is the JavaScript that was released after the ES6, right? So whatever we had after ES6, that will be considered as a modern JavaScript. And what you had before that, prior the ES6 version, right? That will be considered as a, you can say, standard JavaScript, old JavaScript. It's up to you how you want to call it. Okay. So it is the same JavaScript basically with same functionalities, but it will be introducing some modern ways of doing it. Consider it like you can compare it with any technology where we are using modern ways of doing it. For example, your cell phones. Previously, we used to have that keypad cell phones, and now we all are using touch screen phone, right? Even though both are doing same thing, both were able to make calls, but these new technologies are able to provide you some additional functionalities to make your life easy. So same way, modern JavaScript will also helping you while you'll be working with it in Lightning Web Components. Just to make it little easy, I have added one image here. So on the right side, if you will see, there's this thirsty crow. We all might be aware of this story, the thirsty crow, right? So if anyone is not aware, I'll just quickly give you a brief in one line. So there was a crow. It was very thirsty, and he found this he found this jar of water, and the water was fully down. So the crow threw some stones in it so that it can come up and it can drink, and flew away, right? So that was the old crow, I would say. If you will see on the right side image, there's the same crow, same waterfall, and but the crow is using the modern ways of doing the same thing, right? So this was just an example, like what benefits you will be getting if you'll be using the modern ways. Okay, we'll quickly move to the next slide, which is the introduction, right? So JavaScript was introduced in 1996, guys. So if you'll see in this image on the top left corner here, so 1996 JavaScript was introduced. After that, JavaScript decided to publish the ECMAScript version every year. Then on 1997, ECMAScript 1 version was published. Then the same was followed by ECMAScript 2, ECMAScript 3. And then after 10 years, ECMAScript 5 got published, right? If you will see the gap here, it is like 10 years of gap. And also if you will notice something here, so the ECMAScript 4 version is missing. The ECMAScript 4 version was planned, developed, but due to some reason, it got never released. That's why it is not here. So the JavaScript that you see from the introduction to the ECMAScript 5 version till 2009, which got released, we will be calling it as an old JavaScript. Okay. Then in 2015, ECMAScript 6 version was released, right? And later on, continued by ECMAScript 7, 8, 9, 10, and still it is continuing. I believe the latest version is ECMAScript 14. So whatever we are having with this ES6 version and so on, we will be calling it modern JavaScript, because with ES6 versions, JavaScript has introduced some of the features which was pretty difficult to achieve as part of the old JavaScript. So that's why we'll be calling it as a modern JavaScript. So this is going to be one of the modern JavaScript thing that we'll be learning in this specific session. Okay. So I'm not sure if you have seen this backtick sign in used anywhere. So basically, backtick sign, you can call it backtick sign or template literals or template strings are also fine. So template literals or template strings are delimited with backtick characters. Template literals allow you to perform some actions, mostly create a string by doing the substitution of placeholder. If you have recently seen the examples of where people are using GraphQL to achieve the result to fetch the data from server, in that GraphQL query also, if you'll notice, they're using the backtick sign, they're using the template literals, right, to use that GraphQL. So I'll show you what template literals are exactly and how you can use it. For that, I'll show you using some example. And I believe I need to share my whole screen for that. Just give me a minute. Let me stop sharing and share again. Just 1 minute. Okay. Okay, so we were discussing template literal. Okay. Now to give you a demo of these template literal guides, I'll be using Play Code, open platform to build your code and test it on the runtime. The benefit of using this playcode.io platform is whatever I'll be building here in JavaScript, on the real time, you will be able to see output in the console. If it is related to some web technology, then you'll be able to find the output on the web view as well, right? So this is the benefit of using this. Now, template literal, okay? So for that, I'll quickly modify this existing code. Now let's say I'm creating a user, okay? So I'm creating a constant, my user, which will be having first name, okay, and last name. And as these are values, so we need to put them in double quotes here. Okay. Now let's assume I want to print this my user constant in my console log or in any string, right? So we are not having any string here, so that's why I'll be just using normal console.logs to print it, and you'll be able to see the result here in this console. Okay. So in normal ways of having these things in console, I'll just write it down a standard way instead of old ways. Okay. So now if I want to have it on my screen, or if I want to assign this value to a specific string, what I'll do, so console log. Now I want to add a message where I'll be showing the first name of the user. Okay. Following, if you'll notice, the same output is getting generated in the console. Now I want to add user. Okay. Now before this user, I want to have single quotes here. Okay. Now if in this text only, if I'll try to add single quotes, it won't let me add, right? Because the overall text is covered in the single quote due to console.log, and you cannot have the similar inside it. So for that, we need to use the escape sequence. So basically you can do backslash and then single quote, and same here, backslash and single quote. Now in the output, it will show user covered with single quotes here. I'll do following user is not, following user is not available. Okay. Then I'll add this plus sign. I'll do my user dot first name. Okay, now you can see the output below, which says following user is not available, and it is showing the username, right? So this is the usual way of doing things. You guys might be already doing it in your JavaScript code, in your LWC code, or wherever you're using JavaScript, you might be using the same thing, right? Now let me give you a very good example of the same thing, but using the template literal in modern ways. So modern way of doing it would be console.log. Now, instead of having the single quotes, we'll be having the backtick sign. Okay. Now, I'll have the same text. One benefit using backtick sign is you don't have to use the escape sequence anymore, right? So here we use this backslash single quote, but if you're using the template literals, you can simply do single quotes that will be getting print over the screen. Okay. Same text. Following user is not available. Now there is a specific way of showing the data in the template literal. You cannot use the same like plus sign and value like I did here. So there's a specific way of doing it. So the syntax is followed by dollar sign. Then you can add curly braces, and then you can have your parameters. Okay. And semicolon at the end. So if you will see the output, guys, so the output is exactly same, right? Of both of these texts, the output is exactly same. It is just a different method that we have used to achieve the output. I'll quickly give you another good example of using template literals. Okay. We can take the same string example where you need to print anything. Okay. So let's say you need to print lines like line 1, line 2, line 3, one after each other. Okay. So we'll just quickly do console.log, and I will add line 1 backslash n, line 2, then again backslash n, line 3. Okay. So that is the standard way of doing. If I really want to have it in the new line, this is the standard way of doing this thing, right? Now, when it comes to modern way, again, I'm going to use a template literal. And as I told you, the benefit of using the template literal, that you don't have to use the escape sequence characters to print the single quotes or these new lines. So you don't have to use it anymore. So simply I'll just write it here, standard way. Now as part of modern, we'll use console log. Again, same thing I'll do, but I'll use template literal this time. Okay, line one. Now, if you wish to give a new line in your modern JavaScript, okay, so you don't have to add any special escape characters for that. You just need to hit enter. Sorry, my bad. Okay, you just need to hit enter and then you can start typing next line, then enter, and then next line. So this is another benefit of using the template literal. So imagine a situation where you need to get a string with multiple values, which should be in different lines, right? So in this case, if you're using template literals in it, then definitely it would be helpful. The same syntax you can follow while building up GraphQL queries. So GraphQL query syntax is also pretty similar. If you'll notice, it will be starting with template literals, and then there will be a long query followed by the new line concepts, and at the end it will be ending with the template literal. So that's how you can use the template literals in modern JavaScript. This was one of the examples. I'll quickly move to the other one. Just give me a second. So next is destructuring assignment syntax. If you are working in JavaScript already, or let me put it in a way, if you're working in LWC, right? So whenever you need to pass something from JavaScript to any server-side language, so in JavaScript, you might be having like first name, last name, age, gender, phone number, multiple parameters, right? But when it comes to sending this data to a specific server for a server-side callout, right? So by that time, you won't be passing those values separately. You won't be passing like five different variables to the server. Instead of that, you will put it in an array and then you will pass that one variable instead of passing those five variables, right? I have seen it. JavaScript developers are always, trying to either get data from the array or push data from the array because that is the only way of doing these things. On the same, if you need to pass something from your server-side language, so here, whenever I'm referring server-side language, if you guys are working in Salesforce, LWC, I'm referring to Apex. So whenever you need to pass something from your server-side language to the JavaScript, the same way you will be passing it as a class, as an object, as an array. You won't be passing like each value separately, right? So these things we can do only using arrays like pack values and unpack values, right? So in modern JavaScript, there was a syntax introduced as part of these modern JavaScript concept. The syntax is called destructuring assignment syntax. I know the name is pretty confusing, so I'm basically calling it new array syntax. Okay, it is up to you how you want to call it. It is just all about like you should be aware of it. So we'll call it new array syntax from now. So I'll show you how this new syntax will be working as part of modern JavaScript. So I'll just quickly reuse the same window. Now let's assume I'm having an array where I'm having this first name and last name. Okay, so quickly I'll create first name. Okay, and I'll create another literal. Let's say last name. Okay, now let's say if I want to pass it, I won't be passing it as two separate parameters. What I'll do, I'll just create user. I need to pack these values right in a single variable before sending it. So I'll do first name equals to first name, and same I'll do for last name. Okay, so I have packed these values in a user object where I'm having first name and last name. Now if I'm going to print it, let's say if I'm printing this user now, in the values you can see first name is there and last name is there. This is the normal way of packing an array. So in ES6, in the new array syntax, you don't have to repeat yourself as long as the variable and object property names are similar. Okay, for example, let's say if we are having the similar scenario, I'll copy it and paste it here so that we can do the comparison as well. Okay. Let me comment this. Okay, now here in the usual way of doing this, so this is the basic understanding that you need to create parameters, you need to create variables, you need to create properties inside your object, inside your array to store these values, right? So as we created this user object, we created two values as well, like we created two properties, first name and last name, so that we can refer it in future as well, right? Now, as part of this modern JavaScript or new array syntax, what you can do is you can simply have this like first name, comma, last name. So as part of this ES6 release, right, you don't have to repeat yourself if your property name and the value which is getting assigned to it is similar. Now, if I will uncomment this code, here you can again see the same result, right? You can see the first name and last name, and in the usual way of doing it, same result is here as well, first name and last name, right? But here, if you will see, we are not having these properties. So it might not look that big, guys, because right now this is just a single object with two properties. Consider a situation, multiple objects with multiple properties in it, right? In that case, it is going to definitely make a big impact on your code optimization as well. So basically, I have saved some memory space here. I haven't initialized those properties separately. And also maybe one or two line of code as because this was just a small demo, right? If you are having a large set of properties, then again you will be saving like a lot of lines as well, right? So this is not all about the new array syntax in ES6. Okay, ES6 also provide you a simpler way of getting data out of arrays, right? So here we have added data in an object. Now I'll show you how you can get data from an object. So for that, I'll reuse this specific screen and I will create an array. So let's say numbers. It is having 5 values. Now, if it comes to the usual way of doing it, if someone will ask you, okay, these are 5 values in this array, you need to get it out of it, right? So what you will do is you will create parameter for it. That is pretty obvious, right? Now you will call the array, then you will be having index. This is the usual way of doing it. So the same way I'll be having other index. Okay, and it can go until 5 as well. Okay. Now here, if you want to print number 1 from that numbers array, what you can do is console.log and you can simply go for 1, right? So it will be printing 1, the same will be getting a print for 2 and 3 and then so on. Okay. Now, as part of this modern JavaScript, you can now access the data through the variable name. Okay. So for that, we just need to modify the code a little. So instead of having these parameters declared separately, what you can do is, so I'll keep it on the same screen so it would be easier to compare like how many lines of code you're saving. Let it be till 3 only as we have covered till index 3. Okay. Now, let's say, now instead of doing this, let me comment the code. Great. So again, we are having the same array where we are having number 1, 2, 3. Again, the ask is also same to get these number out of this array, right? So what we'll do for that, we'll again create a parameter, but this time we'll be packing it with separate values. So I'll have same values, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And now for the assignment, what I can do is I can just simply assign the array, because as of now, the values in the source and the values are in the target is same, right? So there are 3 values, here are 3 values. If you will assign it directly, all these 3 values will be getting assigned to that array automatically, right? Now, if you'll again try to print 1 here, you will be getting the same result, which is basically the first value from that number array. So the similar result, but here you will be saving a lot of lines. So here in this example, we had only 3 values. What if we had 100, right? For that, you need to have 100 parameters, 100 line of code. So instead of that, you can simply use this modern way of doing it. Okay, now what if there's a value in source, or maybe let's say in source we are having 3 values, but in target we are trying to receive 4, right? Now, for example, here if you will press, if you will have another value, let's say 4, right? But on the source, if you will see, there are 3 values only, okay? Still, it won't give you any error. But whenever you will try to print that value, which doesn't exist in source, it will just give you undefined. So this is going to be our identifier to check if source is having value. Okay. So this was another example of using this modern JavaScript with your LWC or with any other technology you're using. Another example could be, let's consider a scenario where you need to swap variables, right? Let's say you're having variable A, which is having 1. You're having variable B, which is having 3. Now the ask is to swap the values, right? These kind of questions usually, when you will be giving your beginner level of interview, these kind of questions will be there if they are asking you to do on the screen, okay? So usually in the standard ways of doing these things, developer will be creating a variable C, right? Because you need to store a value somewhere. After that, only you will be able to swap those values. But you don't have to do this anymore as part of this modern JavaScript. So as part of modern JavaScript, what you can do is you can pack it simply. Like I have packed A and B, and I am replacing it with, or you can say I'm doing the assignment of it with B and A. So I just reversed the assignment because it was a packed parameter, and the assignment that got replaced by was also a packed parameter here. Now here, if I'll try to print A, then it is having B's value. And if I'll try to print B, it is having A's value here. So that's how you can sort these value. And this is another thing what you can, use in modern JavaScript, I would say. Okay. Now I'll quickly move to the last example of it, which is a function and beta parameter handling. Instead of giving you the descriptive text here, better would be if I can, explain you by showing it on this playcode.io. So basically, ES6 introduced a modern ways of handling these functions. These modern ways are, first one is fat arrow syntax. So as part of ES6, this fat arrow syntax was introduced, which is again going to optimize your code, save couple of lines. Okay, let's try to understand how this fat arrow thing works. So let's say I'm having a function here, which is a result maybe. Okay, I'll create a function accepting 2 parameter. This is a very basic code, guys. I believe you all must be able to understand. Then as a result, I'm just returning the sum of it, okay? Now, if I try to print it like this, console.log, I'm calling that function. I need to pass 2 parameters, so I'll pass 5 and 10. Something is missing, wait. Okay, I have added result. Okay. So here you can see in console log result, you are able to see 15 because it is calling that function and getting the result out of it, right? This is again the standard way of doing the same thing. Now, let me comment it and show you the modern way of the same. So again, I'll have result, okay? And I won't be writing this function keyword anymore. I'll just add the values I'm expecting. I'll just use the fat arrow syntax here. This is the fat arrow syntax. So wherever you will be using equals to and then greater than sign, it is called the fat arrow syntax. and then I'll just write my expected result, like what I'm expecting from this function to do, right? Now, again, if I'll print console.log here, the same console log I'll use 5 and 10. You can see the result as 15 here. Now, if you will see the above code, it was 4 lines of code, and we optimized it to 2 lines using the modern JavaScript. All we have done here is to remove the function sign and the return keyword and use the new fat arrow symbol instead, right? So this is the new thing which got introduced as part of modern JavaScript. Even the parentheses you see in the fat arrow syntax, I would say those are also optional if there is only one parameter. And you need only curly braces when you have more than one expression. If you're just having one expression, you don't need to use curly braces here as well. So this was one of the basic example of the fat arrow syntax. If you want to understand more, then at the end of this video, I'll be sharing link of the overall library where you can go and check other examples as well with this fat arrow syntax. Another example I'll show you of the better function handling, I would say, better parameter handling in function. Okay. So whenever we are calling a function which is expecting some parameters, so let's say there's a function which is expecting 2 parameters, and your functionality inside that function is dependent on both of them. Okay. Now, if a user is passing only one parameter, right, then again your functionality is going to break, right? To prevent it, what you can do is in your function, inside a function, you can add a check. And in that check, you can mention if this parameter is empty, then you can maybe assign a default value in it to fulfill the overall functionality requirement. Let's consider the same function where we were doing the sum of 2 values, right? What if user is not passing the second value? How the sum is going to work? So in that case, you can simply check if the second value is empty, then as a default value, assign 0 in it, right? If someone will assign 0, again, it is going to be first value plus 0, and it will give the result. The functionality will not break. So as an example, I'll show you quickly. So I'm having a function here, which is hello world. I'm expecting 2 parameters, parameter 1 and parameter 2. Now here I need to check if parameter 2 is missing, then I need to assign a default value. So in JavaScript, I'll check if parameter 2 is null, then it should have world in it. Okay. And it should return P1 plus P2. Okay. Now, if you will try to call this function console log hello world. So if I'll pass only one parameter here in the result, you will be able to see the second parameter is also coming as the default value getting assigned from the function itself. But if you will pass the second parameter here, it will override the value basically. Okay. So if you will see here, the second parameter, if I'm having any value, it will override the value. If you will have it blank, again, it is going to consider the default parameter instead. Okay. So that is the usual way of basically checking these parameters, right? Now, the same thing, how you can achieve the same thing in modern JavaScript. So what we can do is let's create another function here. So I'm creating another function, hello world JS maybe. Okay, pretty weird name, but anyways, I'm having P1 and P2. Okay, now here while declaring these parameters in function as part of modern JavaScript, what you can do is you can simply assign the default values right away. So I'm assigning the default value here. The same thing that we did inside that function, we are doing it while declaring the parameter. Okay, I'll quickly copy this. Return statement. P1 and P2. Okay. Now, here I'll call this function again. Console log hello world JavaScript. Okay. Now here again, we'll try to pass the same result. First, we'll try to pass hello. So you can see in the result, it is coming by default here. The world is coming by default. And now if you'll pass another value, which is, let's say, world. Okay. So this will override the value, right? So whatever you will pass here, it is going to override the default value. So this is another thing introduced as part of modern ways of doing this, the old JavaScript concept as part of this ES6 release. Okay, and I believe that was the last slide on that. So if you want to learn more, guys, about this modern JavaScript, so for that, I'm having a complete playlist on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel name is Salesforce Bolt, where I'm having this modern JavaScript playlist, which is having around 10 videos as of now. You will be able to find these three examples also there. Apart from that, there are some other very interesting topics. So if you really wish to understand more about it, I would suggest you to go and check this playlist. I will share the link as well, my YouTube channel link, in the chat and the playlist list as well. And yes, that was the last slide. So thank you very much. And I'm open for questions now. Before that, let me just ping this channel name on the chat. If you are not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. Okay, I will quickly check if there are any questions in the chat. Okay, so what is this pipeline operator you're asking? So in JavaScript, you can use this operator if these values are not having any value. So you can kind of a or it will be working. So the understanding is correct. It is kind of the or parameter that we are using. But if you will use it in this way that I showed you, so it will compare your first value, and if it is not having any value, then it will be having the second value as an other parameter or as an or parameter. So that was one of the question. Blank, no, it won't be considering blank values. Sorry, it will consider blank values. Sorry, my bad. If you're passing, so in that example I showed you, if you will pass like empty single quotes, right? So again, it was considering the default values. That means it will be considered as a blank or as a null value. Next question is from Mickey. Do we need to add any library to use modern JavaScript or ES6? No, you do not have to use any library. It is there already. You just need to use it. So there's no separate installation is required. The only thing is people are not aware of it. That is the only thing. Okay. Some tips to debug Lightning components. There can be many tips actually, but I would suggest you to check that YouTube channel that I have shared. That is all about Lightning Web Component. So you'll be getting that debugging steps as well. So yeah, you'll be able to find what you're looking for on that. And also one thing here, John. So we are coming up with an event. If you have heard of it, Bharat Dreamin. So it is going to be a Dreamin event in India. So if you give me 5 more minutes, I would quickly like to show everyone the website, and I would like to speak up about it a little.
Okay, sure. You can run.
Thank you so much, John. So sorry guys, I'll just take 5 more minutes. I'll quickly share my screen again. Okay, let me know once it's visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, so everyone in this community, we are coming up with a new Dreamin event. This is going to be the first Dreamin event in India for this year, and we are calling it Bharat Dreamin. And this is going to be something, something new, something really cool, something huge, I would say. So make sure to make yourself available. As of now, we are planning it in the month of June. So we are just having 3 months left to do the preparation and everything. Okay. So this is going to be a dreaming event where you will be having a good line of speakers. There will be things related to CRM data, AI, and all these things. The capacity what we are expecting is 1000 plus attendees. And this is the website basically. So I'll do one thing. I'll quickly share this website link also in this chat. So if you guys are really interested in learning more about it, then definitely do check out. There are some forms as well for early notification. If you want to get early notification, you can fill up that form for early sign-ins. We'll be sending you a couple of updates on your emails as well. So I'll be sharing this link as well. So if you guys are interested in learning more about this Bharat Remin, then you can simply do it. So this is going to be in-person event. This is not a virtual one. Okay. So yeah, make sure to join in person if you can. The date and the venue will be announced soon, but it is going to be in the month of June as if everything goes as planned. So there's a question about location. So yes, the location is decided, but there are a few other factors also we need to consider before announcing it. So yes, you will be getting the update soon over social media. We'll be soon launching the location, the venue, and other details as well. Okay, I can see there are some other questions as well. Can we change variable name in destructing? Yes, you can change the variable name in destructing. It is not about name, guys. It is about the sequence you are having it. So let's say if you're having numbers 1, 2, 3, but in your destructing syntax, you have written 3, 2, 1 in text. Okay. So 1 will be assigned to 3, 2 will be assigned to 2, and 3 will be assigned to 1. So you can have different parameters name. It is completely up to you. It is completely up to your business requirement, how you want to take it up. All right. John, I believe we are good with questions as well. Okay, there's another question by Sheikh. I error actually with this code. Sheikh, let's do one thing. Feel free to ping me over LinkedIn and Twitter. Let's not hold everyone here, and I'll definitely reply over it, and I'll see in case of any error.
Thank you, Kapil sir. Thank you for the informative session and thank you for the giving time. It is very useful for the trial process. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for having me, and thank you everyone for joining this session and making it success. I'm looking forward for other virtual events as well. Thank you
Sure.
everyone. Thanks for
Thank you,
joining.
everyone. Thanks for joining. Thank you. Bye.